Welcome to Mastering the Art of Success. I'm your host, Debbi DiMaggio. We are here today with Grant Muller. He is coming to us from Denver, Colorado. Welcome, Grant.
Thank you, Debbie. It's great to have a chance to chat with you today and chat with your audience.
Awesome. Thank you so much and Happy New Year. We're entering 2026. I don't know where the time has gone.
It's
All right.
unbelievable, isn't it? Yeah.
Absolutely. Grant Muller is a best-selling author, keynote speaker, and high-performance coach who helps high performers grow without burnout. He is the creator of the Shift model and the author of Top of Heart, a book about building success from alignment, not exhaustion. With a journey from homelessness and addiction to seven-figure entrepreneurship, Grant brings raw credibility, practical tools, and grounded insight into how real change actually happens. This conversation is about sustainable growth, internal leadership, and success that doesn't cost you your life. Okay, that is incredible. Look at you up there. Oh, look at the horse. I love it. Oh my God, we have so much to dive into. I was telling a friend, she says, "What kind of questions do you answer?" I say, "You ask." I said, "I just read the bio and then the whole show
You
just
do.
go. I never even get to the other questions because we have to learn who is Grant. And it sounds like you've had quite a few lives already in this one lifetime. So let's talk about so you're from Denver now. I like to know where you grew up and then where you were when you were growing up and maybe went to college. Did you know that you would be where you are today?
I was born in Cape Town, South Africa,
Oh, wow.
and I lived there until I was 7, and then our family moved to Denver. So
Oh,
um, I have these African roots, but I'm really a Denverite at heart. Because I did grow up here as well. I didn't make it to college, and I never would have guessed that I would have ended up anywhere that I am. I didn't expect to live much longer than 30. And
wow.
it's been a few years since then.
Oh my. Well, you have no accent. I guess you were only there till you were 7, but are your parents from South Africa? Did they grow
They
up there?
are, they are, and because they were adults when we moved, they did retain some of that accent. It
I
gets
bet.
smaller over the years, but when they go back to visit, they come home with that renewed accent.
I love it. I love accents, but it's crazy because you definitely have. I would have never. I'm so glad I asked where you were from because I would have never put that in my mind. So, all right. So you've lived quite a few lives. So let's start. Why at 30 did you think you wouldn't make it past 30?
Well, at 30, I was in the throes of addiction, living on the streets. Well, just for it to make sense,
Right.
in my early 20s, I started in financial services. I was working at Charles Schwab. I was a stockbroker.
Wow.
And 1 year into that, I became the youngest manager they'd ever promoted there. So I was just a kid with 24 other stockbrokers working for me. And then I got another promotion there and had a large department that reported to me. And then I got an opportunity to join an internet startup. And this
Oh, wow.
was in 1998. So
Wow.
these were the dot-com days as they were booming. And I took a massive pay cut, but got a ton of pre-IPO shares and joined this company. And I remember I showed up at what I thought was an office, turned out to be somebody's apartment that they were starting this company in. And I said, "Hi, I'm Grant Muller. I'm your new head of service." And they said, "Well, we don't have any clients yet, so you're also the head of sales." And I recruited our first 50 beta clients, um, and we went public about a year and a half later.
Wow.
And we all got rich. You know, Porsches and Ferraris started showing up in the parking lot. This is in Denver, but our headquarters were in Silicon Valley. And we were coming to work in, this is the late 90s, in jeans, holy jeans, and We had breakfast, lunch, and dinner was catered.
Even then they did that. I thought that was a
This is
newer thing.
before Google. Yeah, it was a big deal. I remember getting my hair cut when I had hair, right in my office. I had a foosball table in my office. All of that stuff. Anything to keep us at work working.
Yeah.
And I loved I loved the thrill of that. However, I really missed at Charles Schwab. I was head of consumer services, and at Saba Software, I was in charge of business to business sales, and I just didn't have my heart wasn't in it.
Hmm.
And so I was a very heavy drinker, but what I carefully call functional. I don't think there is such a thing as truly functional addiction,
Right.
but I could manage my own and show up to work the next day. But one day, funny enough that it's New Year's Eve just a couple days ago, 26 years ago, it was the year 1999, and it was about to become the year 2000. And I took a friend of mine to San Francisco. We got a beautiful penthouse suite, and we were there for the big New Year's Eve party into the year 2000. And long story short, at one point we were pre-gaming pretty hard for the party, drinking pretty heavily. And at one point, some cocaine came out somebody's pocket, and they put it on the coffee table, and I fell in love immediately. I don't know
Oh,
why I tried it. I had never done drugs before until that
wow.
moment. So that was my gateway drug. Alcohol was my gateway drug, I suppose. And within 2 weeks, I had my own dealer, and I was using every single day,
Wow.
and
And going to every single day,
going to work mostly.
mostly.
But mostly, the weekend started on Friday mornings instead of Saturdays, and then Thursdays, and then I wouldn't get back to work until Tuesday. And
Mm.
within a few months, I had been asked to leave the company. And I thought, well, I'm 28 years old. I've got over $1 million in stock. I don't need this job. I'm not fired. I'm retired.
Oh
And
my God.
and so I retired and just dedicated myself to the party full time.
Oh
Yeah,
my God. That is
yeah.
crazy. So you were super successful and then it hit. So so when that happened, do you remember your last dime, or what was that brought you, made you hit rock bottom? How long did you continue to go through that money, and how long did you continue to party? Was it another year? Was it 6 months? Was it 2 years? And then you finally hit rock?
That's a great question. Uh, I would go to a different town every weekend to party, take friends with me. We lived like rock stars. Um, and I mean, the whole thing, we dressed like them, we lived like them. People would stop us at the airport and say, "What band are you with?" It was just like absolute craziness. I mean, absolute craziness, getting kicked off of airplanes, all kinds of just crazy stories. You could never get away with now. This is pre 9/11. I could have, I mean, I was traveling with things and you could never do now. Um, anyway, one day I was in my condo in the living room, and the sun had come up and we were all still having the party. A ton of people. I had lots of friends because,
Oh,
when you have a lot of money and a lot of drugs, you have lots of friends. And one of my checks had bounced. And, when you're partying like that, you don't stop to balance your checkbook. I guess to be fair, I really don't do that anymore either. And so I did what I always did. I called to exercise more shares of stock.
mm.
So I called to exercise more shares, and they said, and imagine getting this phone call, by the way. This is Mr. Muller. I'd like to exercise another 1,000 shares of stock. Mr. Muller, there seems to be an issue here. I don't see any shares in your account. And I said, no worries. You're clearly mistaken. I'll give you a moment while you fix the error of your ways. And she put me on hold, came back and said, I don't know how to tell you this, but you
Mm.
had 60 days after you left the company to exercise your shares. So you have actually forfeited all 16,000 shares of stock.
Oh my God.
So I went to zero in that moment. And I hung up the phone. I looked around the room and I just thought, you can't go on like this, Grant. Something has got to change. So I said, hey guys, let's sell all the cars. And so we sold all the cars, turned the cars into cash, turned the cash into more Coke.
Oh God.
And within a few weeks, that was all gone. And luckily, one friend had kind of stayed behind, even though I had really nothing left to offer.
Mhm.
Um, and he said, no, don't worry, Grant, I'm going to help you quit Coke for good.
Mm.
And he introduced me to meth.
Oh God. Oh.
And so within another, it must have been about 8 weeks. Time is hard to know from back then, but it's probably about 8 weeks. That place was foreclosed on. And I spent the next 6 years functionally homeless. There were times in between there that I had a place to stay or had an apartment here or there. But just to fast forward at the very, very end, I was living on the streets, nowhere to go, nowhere to turn, walking the streets of Denver in the winter, just moving so that I didn't turn into a frozen burrito. And um, that was so I really, unfortunately, found rock bottom, and then I just find a new way to make it worse, and then I find a new way to make it worse, and um, yeah, it was a rough way to live.
And how did you, and when you said you were living on the street, kind of sort of functioning, did you have a job? Did you go back to get a job, or were you just doing nothing for 6 years other than being on the streets?
My jobs were all illegal, allegedly. So mostly selling drugs to
Mhm.
support my habit.
So what was that pivotal moment? I mean, there must have been some huge pivot that took you from the streets to where you are today. So what year are we in now, and how did you even do that?
So it was roughly around Christmas of 2007. I was just exhausted and ready to give up.
Mm.
And I was running from the law because I had had probation, but then I had not done any of the stuff I had to do. And so they were looking for me, and I just gave up. And I called my mom, who lived about an hour away, and I said, "I'm ready." She had been trying to help me, and I just cut her out of my life for her own safety. And I said, "I'm ready to finally give up." And I went to
Mm.
see her, spent the night, I slept, I ate and slept some more, slept for a few days. And she brought me back down to Denver to turn myself in to probation. She gave me $20 so that when I got out of jail, I could take the bus back to her house. And I was standing there right before I turned myself in. And it's just the weirdest thing. I don't know how to explain it, but it wasn't even me. Somebody texted my dealer and said, "I've got 20. Can you help me?" And boom, I was off to the races again.
Oh God. Oh,
Yeah. And, by that night, I had about $100 worth. I just kind of reinvested it, if you will. And I ended up lost again for a few more months. But it got really bad really fast again. And there was just so much desperation. Again, I called my mom. Again, she came and got me. I'm so grateful to have a family that didn't give up on me.
right.
I tell that part of the story just to remind people I didn't just pull myself up by the bootstraps when I decided I'm not a
Right.
hero. I just asked for help, and I was
Right.
very privileged to get it. I went up, I slept, I ate, I
Mm.
went downstairs. My sister was on the phone. I said, "I'm ready to turn myself in." She said, "Good, because the Boulder County Sheriff is on their way to pick you up." And my sister had called them to make sure it didn't happen again.
Right.
And she saved my life. I really
Yeah.
believe that. And I went to probation. I had a 4-year prison sentence,
Oh,
and I was given the choice to go to prison for 4 years or go to rehab for 30 days. So,
wow.
again, a ton of privilege. I
Right.
went to a rehab that would have cost me $40,000. That was scholarshiped to me
Mm.
because my sister happened to know someone.
Wow.
So again, I got a ton of help.
Did you
But that was
the
what's that?
time? Did you realize how lucky you were to have a mother who was helping you and a sister? Did you realize it, or were you too young?
I did realize it by then.
Yeah,
It only took a few days without any of the poison in me to realize how lucky I was.
yeah.
And I did give it everything I had in those rehab days. And then I got involved in 12-step recovery, and I've been involved ever since. I have a sponsor there. I have sponsees who I help,
Yes.
and I do what I can to be a service. I know I told the story a little bit like a Wolf of Wall Street story, but it's important that I acknowledge that I hurt a lot of people along
Mhm.
the way, did a lot of damage. And it's important to acknowledge that. And I acknowledge that by what I call living amends. I do my best
Mhm.
to add value into the world now instead of taking it, and to help those that I can, because I have had so much help to be in the position I'm in now. I'm really grateful for that.
That's incredible. What an incredible story, and congratulations for getting out of it. I know there was a lot of people to thank, but you had to do it yourself. You couldn't have someone do it for you. So after that, you got out of rehab, and so how do you bridge, and people are probably dying. How did you bridge the gap? I mean, clearly you were super smart because you were super, super successful, and then you fell, but you finished rehab, and then how did you get into what you do today? How did you create the shift model we can talk about? How did you write a book? Where did that come from? Where did you draw from? How did you find someone to help you move into that step?
So I had always been, I had invested in real estate along the way, and then sold it off for obvious reasons. Um, and I'd always thought, if I could take what I'm learning about serving the consumer and apply it like a business person to this, I bet I could do a lot better than these realtors who are kind of not doing a great job for me. And one day I'll try. But I was never willing to give up those big incomes to take a chance at building a real estate business. So it was 2008. I
Wow.
was living, I lived with my mom for a couple of months out of rehab, and then I moved um, back to Boulder, where I was living. I had to kind of hide in Boulder. I couldn't be in Denver because there were people that wanted to kill me, literally. And so I was hiding from this gang member who,
Oh,
um, it's all in the book. So
yeah.
I won't go into all the stories, but I thought, the real estate market is at the bottom. I'm at the bottom. What a perfect time to break into this business. I have nowhere to go but up. And
Right.
so I got a job at the local real estate office as a receptionist for $9 an hour.
Okay.
And I worked like crazy from there. And again, got lots of help and learned from
Yes.
lots of amazing mentors. And so that was the real estate side. In 3 years later, I left there, and their head person came with me, and we formed our own boutique brokerage firm.
Oh,
And
okay.
we did that. And then during COVID, I had a this. I'm just shifting to how I got to where I'm at now. Um,
Awesome.
During COVID, I realized that I loved the brokerage, but what I loved the most was serving my real estate clients and serving and coaching the realtors at our brokerage. And so I decided to close up the brokerage and just coach and serve clients. And that gave me the time to write the book.
The book. So tell us
Yeah.
about the book. So should we talk about the shift model? Is that in the book?
It's actually not in the book.
Okay.
Yeah.
Talk about, you're the creator of the shift model, and tell us about that before we go into the book.
So I believe that we all know our own truth and
Mhm.
we all have our own answers. And I love consulting. I love coaching. I love training. I think they're all important, but I think they get mixed up sometimes. And my version of coaching is a little bit of training, but mostly the transformative part is not what I teach. It's what you remember. And so helping you remember what you already know is how I coach. And
Hmm.
I love to help you discover your own patterns, the things that might be holding you back. And so, I really like to teach how to improve your performance in a sustainable way by unlocking human connection. That's in top of heart, but then
Okay.
also understanding what your patterns are that might be holding you back, because it's the inside work we have to do to get the results we want on the outside.
Absolutely.
In my story, I was a millionaire before 30. It was all achievement, no fulfillment.
Mm.
And when I realized that I had all the money in the bank and I still hated who I was, it destroyed me. And I think we all do that in different ways. And so I want it to feel as good on the inside for you as success feels on the outside or looks on the outside, right? And so
Right.
the shift model is about, what did I do? Like I took apart the pieces for what I did to help my life go from there to here. And I also looked at a lot of other people that I coach and work with. And I said, what are the pieces here? And so the first piece of the shift model is see it. And all it is about uncovering the patterns that are holding us back. But see it has two levels. One is the obvious external level. So here are
Hmm.
the things I'm not doing that I need to be doing. And then so as an example, I'm eating too many calories and I'm not moving enough. That's one version of see it. But then the second version of see it is, wow, it seems like every time I feel the emotion of shame, I end up in the pantry in front of the Doritos. And then understanding why that connection is there and understanding how to rewire our brain. So it's see it first to recognize that, then it's own it. And
Hmm.
it's just naming, I call it naming, name, not blame. So just naming, what is it we own? You know what? I feel that shame because every time this trigger happens, it reminds me of the way that my uncle treated me when I was 8. And that
Hmm.
had this crazy effect on me. Okay, great. And now I can own my behavior in today, understand what that is. I see it. Now I can own my behavior. And then shifting it is about rewiring those neural pathways so
Hmm.
that we have some new triggers, and old triggers give us new behavior. And so that we can get our brain working on our behalf instead of against us. So we can have our inner dialogue in a way that works like an inner coach instead
Hmm.
of like horrible critic.
Right.
And so that's see it, own it, shift it. I mean, pardon me, that's shift it. See it, own it, shift it. Really simple model, and it can be used at a really high level in a moment, or
Uh-huh.
it can be used over, a deep 1 hour one-on-one coaching session where we go really deep in just one little tiny piece of it. So it
Right.
kind of expands and contracts as you need it.
I love it. When we come back, we got to go to a quick commercial break. I just want a few examples of people you've helped. We'll be right
Sure.
back with Muller. Thank you.
Did you know that your beliefs create your entire reality, but it's the subconscious beliefs that do most of the creating? Belief shifter and life coach Shiraz can help you identify those limiting beliefs and eliminate them, often in a single session.
Like it was almost instant, like I had relief right away.
Creating better health, relationships, careers, and finances. Let Shiraz help you step out of safety and into awareness.
Definitely something's happening. It's like a flow inside. It feels good.
Whether in person or online, Shiraz provides personal coaching, belief shifting. Visit Shiraz at energeticmagic.com or call 416-529-7429. Energetic Magic. Find your greater happiness. Be well. Be aware. Be magical. Mike Zorek, a 3-time California state champion in Greco-Roman wrestling at 114 pounds. Mike, blind since birth, was born in Hartford, Connecticut. He was a 6-time national placer, including 2 seconds, 2/3, and 2/4. He also won the Veterans Folk-Style Wrestling twice at 152 pounds. In all these tournaments, he was the only blind competitor. Nancy Zorick, a creative spirit whose talents have taken her to the stage and into galleries and exhibitions in several states. Her father, a commercial artist who shared his instruments with his daughter and helped her fine-tune her natural abilities, influenced her decision to follow in his footsteps. Ms. Zorick has enjoyed a fruitful career doing what she loves. Listen Saturday mornings at 12 Eastern for the Nancy and Mike Show for heartwarming stories and interesting talk.
Welcome back to Mastering the Art of Success. I'm your host, Debbi DiMaggio. We are here with Grant Muller from Denver, Colorado. So, Grant, we were just talking about the shift method that you created. It sounds like you kind of what I did with my mindset and motion method. I reverse engineered how I set my goals, how I achieved my goals. And so you've pretty much reverse engineered your life prior to getting healthy. So just a few people that you've helped using the shift method.
One that I always talk about is Dana. So Dana, super high powered Fortune 500 executive, and I, to the point where I do all of my coaching through Zoom, but in this case, she would fly me out for these one-on-one days. And I remember sitting in her office one day and, I just asked her a simple question and she kind of went into herself and then started kind of shaking. I didn't know if she was going to cry or get up and hit me. And I thought, you look so miserable. You've got everything, what's going on? And the question I asked her was, who are you without the pressure? Mm. And because we've been talking about this pressure, she felt like she was in a pressure cooker, not just at work, but at home. And, she said, if I'm not giving 110%, I feel invisible and replaceable. Mm. And I'm scared that if I don't over deliver in all of the places, that I'm not going to be loved. Mm. Because I feel like my family loves me because I'm paying the lion's share of the bills. And this company loves me because I'm running this organization that's been really, historically difficult to run. And I feel like that's why I'm getting love. And so over the next couple sessions, we discovered that all of her love had been tied to performance since she was a kid. And she brought up these moments, and it's so crazy, by the way, because almost always it's something when you were 4 or 5.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's amazing. And she had this word for word. She could remember what her mom had said to her in a moment when she was 4, and then gave me all the lessons and all the stories and all the evidence that she gathered along the way to believe that.
Wow.
And so what we did is we helped her understand that she now owns what love and performance looks like for her. And that took some time.
Sure.
But over time, she started to understand that she could choose what level of performance she wanted to give, what level of pressure she wanted. There's so many people living in this immediacy land. And so that's the other example I'll give you. And it's also about pressure. I'll call her Sarah, and Sarah's a realtor, super, super successful realtor. Again, you would think, why does she want to come to me? She sells twice as much as I do in real estate. She's selling these $10 million, amazing places. And for Sarah, it was about, she felt like she was in prison because of the immediacy she felt. If she saw a text or an email, she was tied to that immediacy. I have to reply right now to give good service. And so we talked about, what does good service really mean? What does it look like? Where does that belief come from? That immediacy is important. And we started just kind of pulling apart the threads. and understanding what's true and what's not. And by the way, real estate is not a 9 to 5 job, and there is immediacy in lots of what we do,
Yes.
but we're not curing cancer,
Right.
and and we're not property managers. So there's very little that we have to manage. In 30 minutes, it can wait. And so we gave her some breaks in time. But what we discovered, here's what's really important. I taught her what everybody else would teach her. She would brick her phone. There's a little device you can buy called a brick, by the way, which you can still use your phone for certain apps, but you shade out other apps. And for 30 minutes, she would be unavailable. She could buy a Starbucks, she could use the map, but she couldn't she couldn't look at the internet, and she couldn't look at social media. And or for 30 minutes, do not disturb. But it's in the moments of the 30 minutes, how she felt in the 30 minutes, the messages that she was getting from herself during the 30 minutes. That was what was the unlock for her. Because we can
Mhm.
force anybody to be unavailable for 30 minutes. But what we noticed were all the messages that were coming up during those 30 minutes. And then that's where the work began. Because then we
Was
could
she
start understanding those messages.
was she
Yeah.
just panicking? She's like, "Oh my God,
She
I've
was
got to
panicking, but for her, it was all about self-worth.
go."
It
Okay.
was all about, I don't deserve to be sitting here. I'm not performing.
Mm.
I'm not helping anyone. I'm not working. I'm worthless.
Oh, wow.
And I'm not a therapist. There's a certain level of stuff where I go, okay, you need to go to a therapist. But in her case, it was honestly just about paying attention to the voice that was speaking, understanding that that voice was a made up story in her head, and then rewiring her brain so that it could serve her instead of fight against her.
Right. So
Yeah.
interesting. It is very interesting that people remember things. I was telling my daughter about something I remembered when I was a young girl, and it was probably about 4. I used to have when I was old enough and still young and naive, but old enough, like I said, I would have these dreams like, oh my God, there's so many people in the world. How am I going to get to know everyone? And I think I was like I don't know if I was sick and I was having what is it, I was, oh, I can't, when you're
Hallucination.
hallucinations. I was like, "Am I hallucinating?" I was like, "There's so many people in the world. I have to know so many people." And now where I look at where I am today, I'm like, I'm actually meeting so many people throughout my podcast all over
Right.
the world. It's not everyone, but I am meeting. So I said it to my daughter, who's pretty like she doesn't really believe in that stuff so much, and she thought it was kind of cool. I go, "Oh no, when I was 4, and I remember this every day of my life. How am I going to meet all the people? I really want to meet people." And that's how I started, not
And
knowing I
now
was
you're
going to.
doing it.
Now I'm doing it. It's crazy.
That's
Yeah. So
incredible.
I love that. Thank God mine was a little more positive. But so I love that about how you're helping people. And it's really, and I call myself an accountability coach. It's like you have to like, what is it for you? Yes, I can help you to a certain degree, but then we have to talk about what is it about you, and then we've got to hold you accountable to yourself, and it's clearly what you're doing and helping them. So many high achievers don't realize they're burning out until it's too late. What are the earliest warning signs?
I think the biggest one is when um, the adrenaline that used to feel like a rush
Mm,
starts to feel like weight.
okay.
A lot of high performers really love the moving and the shaking and the running from place to place, and making the clock go backwards. Sometimes, like, how am I making this happen? And just noticing when that becomes an addiction. And a lot of times you notice that addiction when you have those 30-minute moments, when you have
Mm,
30 minutes to sit on your hands and you notice the incredible um, sense of discomfort that you feel, the anxiety that you feel. That's when we know we're in trouble. And I know this because I had cravings, right? I know what cravings are. And when I wake up in the morning, my craving is almost always to grab the phone and see what's happening. And then it's to get on the internet and look at the news and see what's happening. And what I do instead every single morning is I close my eyes for 20 minutes and I meditate and visualize. And I've been doing that every day for years. And I still get messages that say, just get up and get coffee. Just turn on. This is too long. And but I've become familiar with that person that's that voice that's inside of me. I know it's not me.
Right.
It's
I love
not that higher version of me. And so I teach myself at the beginning of every day, sit, stay, just like the dog trainers. Sit, stay. And it gives me the chance to get going from the beginning. But I think we notice that burnout
yeah.
when we don't really know who the voice is up there anymore. We don't even know why we're doing the thing we're doing anymore. And it starts to feel like weight.
Do you have any, so when you start working with someone, do you have any exercises that you try to get people to do, or there's some structure that you give them when they're not working with you?
Yeah, so a ton. So I won't bore you with all of it, but really what it comes down to is understanding what the messaging is that we're giving ourselves, and understanding what's noise and what's clear intuition. What's the difference? Because most people I'm working with are already performing at a high level,
Okay.
but we want to elevate the way you lead yourself. And that way growth feels aligned. And that's the other sign that you're burned out, is that you don't feel like you're in alignment anymore. But anybody who's accomplished anything wonderful in this world knows that you need aligned, consistent action. And the only way it's going to be aligned and consistent is if it's something you truly enjoy and feels right for you, and then it's sustainable. Otherwise, you're just forcing yourself against your own will, and that can last for a day or two. These New Year's resolutions are great. I applaud anybody who wants to do something special. But the dopamine hit of making the new decision because the calendar changes, that's going to fade. And so we need something that's consistent and sustainable. And that comes from aligned action. The next level always starts on the inside, though. It's not what am I going to do on the outside? It's what am I going to do on the inside? Who am I going to become?
Right. Absolutely. So you wrote a book. You're the author of Top of Heart, a book about building success from alignment, not exhaustion. So tell us a little bit about the book.
Yeah. So the book I call a memoir with a message. So it is that crazy story I told you, in some more heart pounding detail. My great mentor and author of The Go Giver, Bob Berg, he wrote the foreword. Um,
Nice.
One of the greatest honors of my life. I love him so much, and I've learned so much from him. And so the first part is that story. And then the second part of the book is the business message around taking what I learned there, and applying it to business. And the reason it's called Top of Heart is, you've heard about top of mind, staying
Hmm.
top of mind. And that's how we build a business as an entrepreneur, as a realtor, salesperson, even an executive. We want to stay top of mind with the right people. And I say that's great. I think we need to do that, but we need to go from top of mind to top of heart. And that's just simply about building real, genuine emotional connections with our clients and with the people we work with every day. So just seeing the humanity in the moment, whether that's a service situation or a sales situation. The one I always use, I don't know if you've ever had a toothache, and you call the dentist, and of course the toothache is always over the weekend. And you
Yes.
call the dentist Monday morning, and the receptionist answers, and you say, "Good morning. Oh my gosh, I'm so glad to get you. I have had the worst toothache. I haven't slept for 2 days. It's been horrible. Please help." And they go, "Okay, sure. That sounds great. Hold on a moment. Let me get an appointment." And it's like, it's that disconnect where in that moment, wouldn't it be different if they just said, just briefly, "Gosh, that must be so hard. I'm
Right.
sorry you had that weekend. Give me a second. Let's take care of you." Right? There's just a
Right.
difference. That's the
Yes.
service side. And then the sales side is really moving from transactional mindset to relational. So
Mhm.
instead of thinking about, how many times can we turn this client over to maximize the ROI or to maximize the lifetime value of this client, thinking about how can I build deeper into this relationship so that we become indispensable, and so that we become not just trusted partners, but we become part of the operation or part of their life, an extension of their living, rather than some outside entity that serves them when they need it.
Right.
So that's the difference. And that's how I built my real estate business.
So
So
tell us
that's
about
what,
that. I find it difficult as a realtor for 35 years. It's like every time we get with a client, we become very intimate for a very short,
yeah,
a long but short period of time, and then it's over, and then you do kind of you try to keep in contact, but you can only have so many close people in your life, right? We just don't have time. And then sometimes clients do want to kind of possess you because they're new to town, let's say. And
yes.
so you are kind of their link to the community. So how do you balance that? One, how do you balance that without people, I mean, we have realtors have families and friends and stuff already. So how do you balance that? And then at the same time, how do you balance that? And then how do you stay in someone's life to be relevant? I'm always, I'm here for the rest of your life to help. I don't say that till I'm here always. If you need a referral or a resource, please call me. I'm known for that person. But how do you juggle those two things to continue to stay in their life while not, having them be in it all the
That's a
time?
great question. So I don't need more friends. And I don't have a lot. I have a few very, very close friends. I'm
Right.
an outgoing introvert.
Me too.
So I love people, but then it drains me. And so I
Same.
have to be really thoughtful about my energy. And so I avoided getting to know my clients very well. And in fact, I had one client early on. I remember him inviting me to have lunch after some showings. He said, "Would you like to go grab lunch?" And I thought to myself, why on earth would I want to have lunch with you, dude? Like, you're already my client. Why would I? That was how closed off I was in the beginning. And by the way, he has bought maybe a dozen properties with me. So
Wow.
he ended up being a huge referral source and a huge client of mine. Um,
Right.
but what I learned over time is that I could have deep, meaningful, real connections with people in real estate without pretend-a-friending, without
Mhm.
pretending to be someone I'm not. And so my clients know and appreciate that I'm a little bit of a workaholic. And
Yep.
that means I'm a really awesome realtor for them, and I'm not the best friend afterwards. It's just the way it is. Now,
Yep.
some people do become friends, as you know, that just it happens naturally, and it's one of the benefits of being in the business we're in. Um, but I do stay in touch with my clients. So, number one, I have a very, very rigorous top of mind process. So,
Mhm.
my clients all get mail from me once a month. They get email from me. They get a newsletter. And then I have a conversation with every one of my sphere of influence once a quarter in whatever way they want the conversation. But what Top of Heart is about is not creating these pretender friends or these false kind of friendships that happen. It's about allowing the relationship to just be human
Mhm.
and to go where it's going to go naturally. I have people in my sphere of influence that never answer the phone or text when I reach out for those conversations. But yet, when they need a real estate deal to happen, they call me every single time. They just
Nice.
want me to open doors, write contracts, and negotiate like crazy for them. And that's why they love me. And I have other people. I just got this amazing 2.5 minute audio message from somebody for Happy New Year's that, we are just connected at the heart. And it was a very natural thing. And that's just how that relationship has been. And so Top of Heart is just about honoring the human in front of you as a
Mhm.
human
Mhm.
and allowing that relationship to just be what it is naturally rather than to just force it into a transaction or force it into a friendship. And that's worked really well for me. I little things also, it's just a mindset more than anything. Top of
Mhm.
Heart. People ask me, what do you give as closing gifts? And I always say that's like saying, what do you give as birthday gifts?
Right. Exactly. It's so
It
personal.
depends on what the person needs or wants. But mostly, unless I really know what they want, and part of my job is to find out what they love. If you say, I'll ask, what do you guys do for fun? Oh, we love craft beer. Craft beer is big in Denver. Instead of just leaving it at that, I'll say, well, do you have a favorite craft beer? Where do you go? We go here. Oh, okay. And what flavor do you like? We like this. Well, now guess what they get from me?
That's so great.
Guess what they get from me as a closing gift? But almost always the closing gift I give is dinner for us to go out together so that we can build that relationship to the next level.
That's
Um,
good.
and so spending time together is so critical. And again, I just set up lunch with somebody for a couple of weeks from now. I'm going to see him and his wife. And we've been top of mind for a while. And I've created a beautiful relationship. But it's such a good, firm relationship. I don't see them more than every couple of years.
Right.
But when we do, we pick up where we left off. And it's a top of heart relationship. And we
Nice.
won't talk about real estate. They'll ask me a little bit about the market, but we'll talk about everything but real estate. And so now I get to wake up and look at my calendar every day and get to see who I lunch for a living, I say. So I just look at my calendar. I get to have lunch with so-and-so today, and that's how I do top of heart. So,
I love it.
yeah,
That's
so there
great.
is, not to sound, I know it's so hard on a podcast. It sounds very high level, everything I'm saying. This thing has in the back of it, for anybody that's interested, actual exercises on each section of top of heart. So there's a process in there. There's a system in there about how to go a little deeper with people in a real meaningful way that serves you and serves your clients.
I love it. That's great. So you are a full-time practicing real estate agent still?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
okay. You're in
Yeah.
Boulder, is that right?
I'm actually in Denver, Boulder. I'm in between right now. And so I do about 50-50.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. And
Sounds
so I made some business shifts and moved to a new brokerage. And so I'm building a new team. I'm going to add a few people to my team this first quarter, and hope to have 5 or 6 by the end of the year. So I'm super excited.
nice. That's
Yeah.
great. So I'm going to ask you some rapid fire questions to wrap
Okay.
us up. What's one belief you had to unlearn to become successful without burnout?
What's one belief I had? That to be a successful entrepreneur, you have to say yes to everything.
Good one. Morning routine or nighttime wind down? What matters more for high performance?
I think they're equally important because they roll into each other. And
Absolutely.
so I go to bed with gratitude and I don't get up. I wake up, my eyes open, and I think about what I'm grateful for before I get out of bed every night. Every morning. So
Absolutely. One habit that changed everything for you.
um, I'm going to flip it around. The habit of not using mind altering substances.
Good one in your case. Hustle culture, helpful,
Mm.
harmful, misunderstood.
I think it's misunderstood. That's a great question, by the way. I am the anti-hustle person, and there are times when we need to sprint. There are times when we need to move fast. I just believe that it's become misunderstood because we don't see often all of the team that is supporting the person who's yelling, hustle, hustle, hustle. And I think we all need to decide. I think it's okay if you want to work 20 hours a day, and that's your life, so be it. That might be great for you. It was great for me at one point in my life. I know now I value being home for dinner at 5:30 more than almost anything else. So
Yeah,
we all have to choose our own culture. It's not about anybody else's culture.
right. It's what we want to do. What's the first sign someone is headed toward burnout?
That heaviness, that weight, things are not fun anymore. And for all of us, if I'm not humming something musically, if
Yeah,
I'm not singing to myself while I'm getting ready, it's a sign that I'm too rushed, too busy, too stressed. So everybody has that sign. You need to find it for yourself.
that's a good one. Book you've gifted the most besides your own.
The Go-Giver is number
I
one.
was
If
gonna
you've read The Go-Giver, I strongly recommend Go-Giver Sell More if you're in sales.
say, okay.
It's the how-to of The Go-Giver. And then the third book I've given the most is The Untethered Soul, by
Oh, yeah.
Michael Singer. Um,
Yep. What does success from the heart mean in one sentence?
Following uh, our own our own wisdom, our inner wisdom, following that intuition, the gut, whatever you want to call it, but being
Right.
in tune with who we are and what we are, and whether that's God for you or the universe for you, whatever you believe spiritually, It's something that's bigger than you, but also that lives within you.
Right.
That's
I
heart
believe
center.
intuition is real. Don't disregard it. Absolutely. So because we have to wrap up soon, tell us how we get in touch with you. How does someone coach with you? Do you have to be one of your agents to coach with you? And how do we get your book?
Oh, awesome. Great questions. So Instagram at Grant Muller Coach is a great way to find me. I'm also Grant Muller on Facebook. Easy to find. I'm the tall, bald guy. And the book you can get on Amazon. I did read the audiobook. So, and I'm very proud of it. It was a lot of hard work to read it, but it's too personal to have someone else read. So the audiobook is there. The soft cover there, the hard cover is there, or the ebook is there. It's on Amazon. You just Google Grant Muller or search Grant Muller or Top of Heart there. To coach with me, go to grantmuller.com or reach out to me on social. And I am doing keynotes as well. So you can reach out about my speaking on, you can see a little bit about that at grantmuller.com. If you have an association, I'm going to go speaking to West Virginia Credit Union Association is my next keynote. And so I'm meeting all kinds of incredible people across the country.
Nice. It's exciting to do that and meet so many people. One piece of advice you would have given, well, you were so young when you were successful. Let's say your 20-year-old self. One piece of advice you would give your younger self.
Slow down.
Yeah,
Yeah, slow
absolutely.
down. You are valuable as you are.
It'll take some time. Well,
Yeah.
thank you so much, Grant. This was incredible. I had no idea what we're in store for today, and this was a lot. And I thank you for your time and your energy. I know it's a lot to give and to share your life story. And so I'm very grateful to you.
Thank you so much, Debbie. I loved it. Thanks for our time.
Thank you.
Tune in each week for another episode of Mastering the Art of Success with host Debbi DiMaggio. Thursdays, 2 p.m. Eastern. Real stories, real strategies, real success.